So I understand that you have a 5-point solution, or at least a 5-strategy solution. Can you enumerate what that is?
Absolutely, Dan. So as you suggested, there's nothing much different about today's disruption as earlier ones in history. And throughout history, we've always had 5 tools, 5 ways of reshaping the world to our own interests. The first is through regulation. The second is through entrepreneurial innovation. The third is through consumer activity, consumer and labor activity. The fourth is through citizen engagement, and the fifth is through education. These tools have never changed, and they never will change, because they are our essential, if you like, our technology, our palette as a species for shaping a better world.
Well, one of those things might be inevitable, and that is regulation. Is regulation an outcome that we can expect sometime soon?
I don't like that word, Dan, inevitable. Why do you use it?
I'm asking you, is it inevitable?
Well, you use the word inevitable. Nothing is inevitable. Regulation isn't inevitable, but it's necessary. It's one of the tools. I think there's an oversensitivity about regulation, particularly on the West Coast in technology circles, is the idea that the government's going to come in and crush everything. We're not talking about a Stalinist kind of over-regulation. We're simply talking about the kind of initiatives which are actually taking place in Europe to control monopolies, antitrust initiatives, new laws to control data, and other regulatory or legal initiatives to make sure that the society we are collectively building is in our interests rather than the interests of a tiny minority of huge technology companies.
What role does business, other than these massive technology enterprises, what role does business have to play in finding, or at least helping push us down a path towards a solution?
Business is critical. We need more innovation. One of the problems with our world, dominated by this tiny handful of Silicon Valley and West Coast tech companies, is we have less and less innovation. The playing field isn't flat. What we need are new kind of business models by another generation of entrepreneurs to react against the surveillance capitalist model, the data model of companies like Google and Facebook. We need real innovation. We're back in 1995. You remember in 95, Microsoft dominated everything. And had Microsoft had their way, there never would have been Web 2.0. There never would have been Google or Facebook. Well, we're back to the past, as we always are. History works in cycles, as you suggested. And once again today, we need innovators, we need entrepreneurs to rethink everything profoundly. There's too much Me Too thinking, or absolute lack of thinking, amongst entrepreneurs in tech. They need to be rethinking the very foundations of what technology is and business models, the very things that the Web 2.0 guys did 20 years ago.
And what role do consumers play?
Consumers are really important. Consumers have always shaped industry. In my book, I show how consumers shaped the food industry, the automobile industry, to make sure that the products were consumer friendly. Consumers need to be more demanding, more aggressive, and they need more choice. When it comes to Facebook, for example, if it is indeed addictive, if it is indeed corrupted by Russian hackers and fake news, as it seems to be, if it's designed to exploit the data of its users and turned its users into products, those users need to fight back. They need to find other products, other platforms which respect them better. So consumers are critical too. Consumers, government, entrepreneurs, educators, workers, and citizens collectively can work towards fixing the future.
How do we get there? How do we bring business, consumer, and every other group together and say these are our collective goals?
That's not how history works, Dan. It's not as if there's some Congress of Berlin where all these people go in a room and hammer out solutions. In 1850, we'd been here talking about the Industrial Revolution. We'd have said, well, all these people need to work, and they have done over half a century. It was always slightly chaotic. Think of it like a stack in technology. These people work independently, but spontaneously their work comes together. There's no top-down initiative here. We're not talking about a government or a Silicon Valley or a VC-aspired initiative. It's going to take time. We need to be patient. One of the things that technology, I think, has undermined is our patience. We think everything should be fixed immediately. We think some people might be watching this thinking, well, there should be an app to fix the future. Why can't Apple or Google or Amazon come up with that? And that, of course, not only is absurd, but it's the problem. We need to be more patient, and it's that patience which will make us realize that what we're living through is profoundly transformative. It's structural, and it's going to take several generations to fix this thing. And by the time in those several generations the thing's fixed, there'll always be new problems. History is not an engineering product. It's not as if we can perfect this thing. Human history is not a line of code. It's ongoing, it's crooked, it's imperfect. But we as human beings, with our agency, we can contribute towards making it better rather than worse. But there'll never be perfection. There'll never be an app to fix the future.